Hello everyone and welcome to Rob Races and Rebuilds. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install shifter base bushings at a 70th the cost of the big brand options. For starters, you're going to have to run down to your hardware store and pick up a few items. You're going to need to pick up 6 1/4-inch washers. The 1/4-inch is reference to the size of the hole of the washer. And you're going to want to make sure it's a 3/4-inch outer diameter. That's the outer diameter of the washer. You're going to need 6 of those. And then you're going to need 3 also 1/4-inch washers, which again is the inner hole, but with a 7/8 outer diameter. And that's what you see here. You'll also need to pick up 3 M8 by 1.25 bolts in about 1 inch long. If you're a Honda guy like me, strong chance you probably have a good selection of OEM hardware laying around, which is what I have, but you can always pick that up at a hardware store. Okay, let's get straight into the install. Here you see the shifter mount out of an 8th Gen Civic. I'm doing it on the bench just so it's easier to illustrate for you guys, but this is what you would see in your car if you took out the center console. We have 3 12mm bolts that we need to remove, which will then take our shifter housing off so we can access these rubber bushings. But before we pull it off, why don't we have a little bit of a test of how much deflection the stock bushings have. As you can see, I'm reefing on it pretty hard. They don't have much deflection, but there definitely is some absorption there. I myself have never found the need to have to replace the shifter base bushings, especially at the cost of aftermarket. But if you're doing my method, which costs about $1, then I think it's worth it. So let's get into disassembly. These are the factory M8 by 1.25 bolts. As you can see, they actually have a portion that's not threaded, and that's why we cannot reuse them for our DIY bushing. So these are where the 1-inch bolts will come into play. Okay, you're going to take your flat-bladed screwdriver and you're going to push out the metal collar that goes inside these rubber bushings. Sometimes it can be a little tight, but they're not too bad. Just work it out like that. There you have it. So you want to do that for all 3. Okay, next we need to pop out the rubber bushings. These are pretty simple. You can just take your thumb and push them right out like that. They come out. Super easy. That one's being a bit tougher. Sometimes you may have to use a screwdriver just to get it started. Okay, so the school of thought here is you're going to use the smaller 3/4-inch outer diameter washer as your base bushing. This is going to slip inside this hole and fit the gap perfectly, as you can see. And then because that sits perfectly in the hole and your bolt sits perfectly in the washer, that is going to act as a centering piece for your shifter to your mount. It won't allow it to shift side to side. But our shifters have a slight taper on the bottom here, so 1 washer isn't quite enough. We have 2 washers per hole, so we'll stack 2 washers like this. They will sit nice and flush inside the hole. Once you have your washers inside the hole like this, you'll then take your bolt and your larger washer and install it over that. It'll be easier once I get it on the mount here to show you guys, but you do not want this washer to protrude this lower level. It has to sit underneath, otherwise this will not work. So let me get one of these mounted onto the mount and I will show you what I mean. Alright, as you guys can see, I have the one mounted and finished. I actually just have it loose so that there's still a bit of play here in the shifter. So you want to take your 2 3/4-inch outer diameter 1/4-inch washers and you're going to stick one in at a time. Again, they'll click in because they're a nice tight fit. Sometimes you might have to give them a little help with a screwdriver just because it is a tight fit in there. But that is what you want. Once you feel it bottom out, you'll see there is still a slight gap between the top of this washer and the top of this black surface right here. And this is very important. If you were to stack another washer and the washer be taller than this black piece, you wouldn't get the right squish effect when you go to put the larger washer and bolt on, and this shifter would actually shift back and forth. See, now you take your larger 7/8 outer diameter washer and it sits in there on that staged plastic level. And now because there is that slight air gap, the bolt will be able to suck this down and hold it very tight. So now we'll take our 7/8 outer diameter washer and our 1-inch bolt and install them. Not have it fully tight yet, as we still want to be able to install this one without too much struggle. Now you want these to be tight, but don't over tighten them, as you don't want to strip the threads, but you do want this washer to squish down a bit. And there you have it. 99-cent DIY shifter base bushings. Now, they aren't as blingy as some of the name brand stuff, of course, but they're going to do the job. And if you put a shift boot on your car like you should, you'll never see them anyways. So let's give it a strength test and see how much deflection this has. There's absolutely zero deflection. I am pulling the entire bracket and I don't get no deflection on the shifter housing. So that is 100% solid. And all it cost us was a trip to the hardware store and 9 washers. Of course, you would also have to buy 3 shorter bolts if you don't have those already. So add a couple bucks maybe for bolts, but it really doesn't get any cheaper than that. So another thing you can do to greatly improve your OEM shifter is use a combination of 09 Plus and 06 to 08 shifter tower. I'll have a link in the top corner to my video on that. It's a great budget OEM Plus mod as well. If you combine these two things, you'd have an excellent feeling OEM shifter. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. I hope some of you found this helpful. And if you did, maybe consider subscribing for more content like this and leaving a like if you liked the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.